I'm a repeat offender to myself.
ReW and Who? What's that you say? Keeping it real. Keeping it real. What's that you say? Keeping it real. Keeping it.
All right, we are here with a special new guest on ReW Who, and it is NaRCiSSiSTeR. So, yeah, come on. So, where are you from, NaRCiSSiSTeR?
Look at my hat for the clue.
This is louder.
Look at my hat for the clue.
Oh, La Jolla? So, are you from California?
I'm from La Jolla, California.
Ah.
But I was actually born here in New York.
What part?
In Manhattan at Columbia Presbyterian.
Oh, what hospital were you born in? Nyack?
Yeah.
You really were born in Nyack?
Someone had to be, so yeah. It was
Wow. So you didn't even move there?
No, nobody moves tonight. People move away.
So you moved from New York to California when you were like a wee little baby?
My parents moved us there when I was 1 because my father was offered tenure at UC San Diego.
Ah, is it true that San Diego has the best weather of the world?
I mean, if you want sunny days year-round, then yes.
Yeah, it's known for that. And the best zoo?
There is a nice zoo, yes.
So when did you come back east?
The day after I graduated from college.
Oh, were you waiting for that day? Did you know? If it was the day after, that seems kind of very on purpose.
Well, actually, I guess I'm not a good listener. I came east when I went to college.
Okay.
I went to Brown, and the day I graduated from Brown, I moved to New York.
Wow, so you went to Brown.
I did.
So you're a smart little girl.
I guess so.
So what'd you study at Brown?
I studied a lot of different things. I ended up being an Afro-American Studies major, but I can't say that I was that radical. I just happened to have finished that major. I was intending to be a French major, but I went to Paris my junior year, and I was dancing there, and I got injured, so I had to leave Paris, and I wasn't able to finish the requirements for the French major, so I just was Afro-American Studies by default.
That works. That
it
works.
was fun.
So it's college, you got to get through it, right?
Yeah.
Did you like Rhode Island? It's a little different than California.
I thought it was really interesting. It was definitely a little rough back then. It's cleaned up a lot now.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. So what made you start wearing this little mask?
Thing.
Yeah. Personality change.
When I embarked on this performance project, I didn't even have a name for it yet. I knew that I didn't want to perform as myself.
And why was that?
Because I wanted to say something a lot broader and more powerful and more universal than I could with my own face, my own person, my own story.
Do you feel like the mask uninhibits you?
Absolutely.
So it's almost like you could be whoever you want to be because that's making you into anyone?
Definitely.
So it's so freeing? So when you perform with the mask, is it totally different than if you had performed without it?
Yes, I've never performed without my mask. Well, I was trained as a professional dancer, and I of course performed other people's work as my own person, but performing my own artwork, I've never done without my mask.
I feel like it's such a great tool. I mean, I just think that it just really allows you to do so much more.
I think it really does. It's very freeing for me, and again, I think it's so crucial in my being able to make statements that are universal and broader.
So give me an example of a statement that you feel is important for everyone to grasp onto.
The mask, my feeling is that I can make broader statements about womanhood, for example, rather than just my own womanhood, or that I can make statements about race in a way that's, again, broader than I could as I didn't have the mask on and people were just looking at me and my particular skin tone or my particular embodiment of womanhood.
So I know my daughter Harley worked with you, and
Yes.
she loved working with you last summer. And a lot of the projects were a little racy.
Yes, they were.
They were. So you take big chances, and you like to have other people take chances with you, but you also allow them to wear the mask.
Yes, well, I invite them to wear the mask, and most people are excited to uninhibit themselves, as you say, and to explore embodying some other character. The projects that we worked on this summer were quite interesting. One was exploring the legality of bare-breastedness in New York City.
Right, and our Caroline even worked on it. Yeah.
Yes,
Woo!
yes, you were wonderful.
Yeah, you got a lot of women involved in this project.
I did, and it was quite fascinating, and it was really just me and Harley filming.
Yeah.
We didn't know what to expect. We were a little bit nervous at first, especially, but it was quite empowering, and it was quite interesting what the response was, what the public response was.
Which was a lot less than you had anticipated, wasn't it?
It was, mostly because people are so engrossed in their phones.
Yeah.
People just didn't even notice.
They didn't even notice on the streets of New York that women were walking topless.
Yeah.
That's kind of good in a way, and it's kind of odd in a way at the same time.
Yeah, it was very interesting.
So nobody
we didn't anticipate that.
No bad things happened.
No one hassled us at all. No, people were sort of maybe a little bit stunned when they did notice, and people otherwise were just very encouraging. They sort of found, they seemed to find it empowering. There's sort of a lot of like, you go girl.
Now, are you allowed to be topless in establliments?
No, that's
yeah,
not
you
a
have to
public
put your shirt
space.
on, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was thinking that too, because even men, I think, have to put on a shirt to go into like a restaurant or something, right? So you can't like be topless, but outside you can.
In the public, yes, in the public arena, it's technically legal to be topless.
Yeah. So what are you working on now?
So, Harley, your amazing daughter, also helped me shoot a video based on the Red Riding Hood story when I was in residency at Yaddo this summer. So I'm working on the edit of that video. She also helped me shoot a video that's sort of a contemporary version of a Marie Antoinette type story.
Did you wear a wig?
I wore actually two. It's a two-headed character. She uses a guillotine to behead herself, or these different sides of herself that she rejects. And so the story is about her presenting these different sides of herself, or being confronted with these different sides of herself, and then cutting the heads off, and then her going to a therapist to try to understand what this internal rage or self-hatred is about. So we shot that, and I'm working on that.
Did you come to a conclusion?
Sort of.
Are these therapeutic for you too?
They must be, yes.
Yeah, do you write the piece as well as...
I do. I these are all my concepts, and I make the costumes, and I am the star of the story.
Good for you. Good for you.
You've done a lot of work in Europe too, right?
I do. I travel a lot to perform, yes.
What were you doing in Eastern Europe?
Eastern Europe?
Yeah.
Well, one of the things I did in Eastern Europe was a residency in Zagreb. It was at a museum in Zagreb, and it was organized by Art in General Gallery here in New York. And it was an incredible residency. I was there for 5 months, and I lived across the street from this museum, and my studio was in this museum that had actually been a site of a lot of political action during the war there in the 90s. So it was a very potent place, and I made one of my most famous performance pieces when I was there called The Basket, that was inspired by the Croatian women who amazingly would carry quite large amounts of their produce that they were selling on their heads in baskets and bring them to the market. So I made that piece there. I made some photographs. It was an incredible time.
That's amazing. And I heard you once went on a date with Marilyn Manson.
I did.
So how'd that happen?
believe it or not, I was in my studio in Brooklyn one night. I was just rehearsing, and I saw a missed call on my phone. When I finished rehearsal, I listened to the message, and it was this person with a very gravelly voice saying that it was Marilyn Manson, and he had a party coming up in LA, and he really wanted me to come perform at his party. And so I just assumed it was one of my friends joking, but I decided to call the number back, and he actually answered, and I said, this is NaRCiSSiSTeR. And he said, oh, well, with his voice. And I didn't believe it was him. He said, well, turn the camera on your iPhone. I said, I don't have an iPhone. I have a flip phone. I don't have a camera I can turn on. And he's like, well, it's me. And I said, well, yeah, right. And I had not been a Marilyn Manson fan, so I wasn't familiar with his voice. And so I got off the phone and I called the person who he said recommended me to him. And Dita Von Teese, who was his ex-wife, who's a fan of NaRCiSSiSTeR's, and she said yes, in fact, she had recommended me to him, and yes, so that was him.
That was awesome. So did you have a good time with him?
I had a very good time with him.
Did he wine and dine you?
In his particular style,
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow, that's so cool. So, do you have anything coming up? And what is your performance that, when people ask you to perform, what is it that you do?
Okay, well, I always perform as this character, NaRCiSSiSTeR. I create different narratives. The performances are very dance-based. They're quite acrobatic. They involve elaborate costumes and props, and they generally comment on issues of race, gender, sexuality, loose commentary on fashion. Yeah, there's sort of
It's like pop and current and
they use
society issues.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. I use pop songs. It's all, I like to think, it's all very sort of critical and intellectual and not gratuitous.
So what do you think of basic television?
I don't watch basic television. I don't know if I'm missing something, but I'm
just curious to think what you would think about the messages that they put out.
Yeah, I am.
It's kind of like what I think you're dancing about.
Right.
A lot. It's just like smacked in the face with all of them.
Yeah.
And I always think art and creative stuff is the only way that we can teach or learn or whatever. So do you find when you provoke people that what happens? Do they learn or do they get it?
I get the impression that my wonderful, and I do have an opportunity to dialogue with these people often, and I appreciate that. I'm glad that my work impacts people, that it's not just this benign experience, it's not pure entertainment, or it's not necessarily an easy experience always. So, yeah, I think it impacts people. I'd like to think it's in a positive way and makes people think.
And where would you like to see yourself be as a performer? Like, what's your dream?
Yeah. Well, my dream is to get my work as far as possible out into the world. I'm limited somewhat in my opportunities because of the erotic content of my work, unfortunately. So I'd like to see how far I can get my work into the world without compromising my vision or my integrity.
Well, it is, wait. It is the birthday of Bob Guccione today, who's the publisher of Penthouse Magazine.
Wow.
And you never know, he or his son or grandson, might be interested in keeping the erotic flavor and possibly, you never know.
Jay and NaRCiSSiSTeR centerfold?
Yeah.
That would be amazing.
That would be.
Love that.
Exactly, right?
I don't think they would like that, though.
Why not?
Because I would be critiquing what they're doing.
But maybe it could work both ways. You never
Could be.
know. You never know.
Right?
They would
The freaks
definitely.
out there.
Yeah, they'd give you a big audience. Well, it happens to be Maple Syrup Day.
Amazing.
Do you like maple syrup?
I do. I try not to eat too much sugar.
Well, it looks like you don't eat too much of anything, really. I know, you're tiny. I know, but that's okay. Well, it is Maple Syrup Day, and if you'd like to have a maple-shaped cookie to dip into it, but we'd like to get a skeleton from your closet.
Oh.
So, yeah.
This ought to be good.
Oh. you have any good skeletons, NaRCiSSiSTeR?
Oh dear.
Just one.
Just one good skeleton from my closet.
Yeah.
Why?
Okay, the topless thing is off the board. I mean,
Yeah.
that's not a skeleton now. That's actually art.
Yes, it is art.
Okay.
Wow. Okay. Do I really just make myself totally bare here?
Sure.
Why not?
You got the mask on.
Okay. Okay. I was a promiscuous young woman. I had an abortion at the age of 14, and I would like to think that through the work I'm doing now, I am healing and empowering my young and current sexual self.
Wow. How about good? Wow. Yeah. Good for you, though, to use art as a tool, because it is the only way to help.
I really think
I believe so, too.
Well, not just for self-healing, but also I'm sure you're reaching other members of the community
Yeah.
that probably could use a guiding voice.
Right, yes, and
Absolutely.
other members have served as guided voices to me, so I would be
course.
honored to fulfill that role.
Aw. So, do you have a website that you want people to follow you, or where do you want people to stalk you safely at?
Okay, I do have a website. It's imperfect, but it exists. It's NaRCiSSiSTeR.com, and I have a Facebook page that I never go to, but I have a very nice intern in Philadelphia who updates it.
Yes, and we have it on our ReWandWho page, and we'll put anything you ever want. And yeah, I love you, NaRCiSSiSTeR. You're
I love
an
you
important
too.
person for this country,
Oh.
world, everything.
Oh, thank you.
I know, and that mask is just. Where do you get the masks? Are they special?
So the mask is a repurposed wig form. It was designed in the 60s by a female entrepreneur named Verna Doran. And I used to do window display, and I encountered them all the time. They were just holding the wigs for mannequins. And I realized you could just pull the plastic front off of the styrofoam head, and then I could cut eyes and use it as a mask. And I actually really wanted to meet this woman, Verna Doran, who created them. Sort of NaRCiSSiSTeR would meet her maker type thing.
Right.
And I made so many phone calls, did all this research. I found that she lived in LA, that she would be in her 90s, and I did reach somebody. It ended up being her daughter, and Verna Doran had just died a month earlier.
Oh, well, maybe her daughter knows Bob Puccione's daughter in LA.
Oh, yeah, maybe.
You never know.
Yeah.
It will be a party.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for visiting us.
Thank you, Ruth.
And happy holidays. You want to push a button?
Okay, I would love to. I'm just going to keep going.
Very popular. That's for Happy New Year. Yeah. We'll be back. Thank
Breaking
you.
through.
Yeah.
What's that you say? Keeping it real, keeping it real. ReWandWho. What's that you say? ReWandWho. What's that you
High, I get low, there's nothing else.